Hey, what's up? Team rider SE Bikes, Damon Dayton from Stockton, California. Come check me out, boy. Right now, we're right here at my shop. You know, I call it my paradise. Been in this shop for 22 years. I originally got the shop to cater to my Volkswagen life and have a spot to work on the VWs and a spot to park my bikes and kind of like a playground. I like to use the word resurrect. I like to bring the Volkswagens back from the dead, kind of go through them with a fine-tooth comb and rebuild the engines, get everything dialed in 100% on it. Like, my biggest dream is to have a bus towed in and be able to drive it out. Bicycles became part of my passion and my youth. I'm the youngest of 4 boys, and I continuously always got the junk bikes as growing up, and now that I'm a little bit older and I can afford to buy my own bike, I just resorted back to the bike that I've loved since day one. I got my first SE in 2010. I got a friend here in Stockton, and he owns a shop called Classic Cycles, and he hit me up and he was like, hey, I know you've been doing a lot of that BMX stuff, and he's like, hey, come check out the SEs. I got a big, large shipment. First day I bought 3 SEs. Immediately 2 days later, I went back and bought another one. The following day, I went back and bought another one. So within 5 days, I had 5 SEs. What it was to me is I was riding the 24-inch race bikes. I had some mags on them and stuff, and I just felt like the bikes were a little bit slow. Went over there to check out the bikes, took one on a test ride, and I was like, dude, these things are fast. So I immediately was like, another one. And then obviously you could tell that I never really quit buying another one. Somewhere around 2013, I had like an eye-opening experience. I had went down to LA and I pulled up on the 4130 ride, and it was a Subway Series ride. And we did 25, 26 miles of downtown LA. Rode the subway back down to Hollywood, met a bunch of cool people, and I came back home, and at the time I was still riding the vintage bikes a lot, and I got all these vintage bike guys seeing that I actually was resorting back to my roots, and they were starting to be like, oh man, I remember those when I was a kid. I remember riding those. I remember this, I remember that. And next thing you knew, I got like all my vintage bike friends on the new bikes. And it was a funny joke to them because they'd say, come on bro, it's kickstands up at 2 o'clock and you don't got a kickstand. So I used to walk over and lean my bike on their bike, and I'm like, when your kickstand goes up, we're out. I just felt like I was becoming like a little bit of a nuisance towards the rides because I'm trying to do wheelies, I'm trying to jump, I'm trying to go off the curbs and in through the skate parks and just do my thing on the bike, and they're like trying to just take off and go do a ride. And when I started venturing off doing my little jumps and stuff, it was just time to take the ride somewhere else. And I had went to LA and I seen all the people there and seen the movement. I started doing a Sunday ride here, and we've pretty much been doing it for a little bit over 6 years. To be honest with you, in the beginning for me it was how many kids could I get on bikes? And that was really what it was about. I feel like getting the kids out of the bad neighborhoods and getting them on bicycles is a key thing to me. Getting them away from the video games, getting them focused. One of my things personally is, if you got good grades, you got my attention. You know, I got several adults that are behind me on this. There's like a group of us, Port City comes out of the pocket, we buy bikes, we find the kid for it after we get the bike. What my favorite part of it was, is I'd give one kid a bike and his 3 friends would see what was going on, and immediately their whole attitude, the way they talk to people, the things they do changes because now they want a bike. To me, it's critical that these kids have something to do. Some of them only got one parent, the parent's got to work, the parent ain't got time for the kids no more. And it's sad that it came down to that, but this is what it takes to put food on the table. If the mom's got to be at work, then I'm going to be the fill-in guy. If somebody needs a flat fixed or the chain broke or anything on the bikes, whatever, I don't care. They can come over here, we'll help them out, fix their bike, get them back down the road. The most critical thing out there right now are these kids and where they're headed. If they don't have a good direction and a good head on their shoulders, they're gonna be ventured off into the wrong area. And that's what I'm afraid of. It all started with my own daughter. It really did. It started with my own daughter. I wanted to show something to my daughter that was positive, and I just never really quit. And then there was years of my life where my daughter would get jealous at me because I'm paying attention to these other kids like they're my kids. But really, at the end of the day, it's like I'm treating everybody equal. I treat you the way I treat that kid. I treat that kid the way I treat his parents. It's been huge, you know what I mean? It's so incredible. All these dudes have been in gang activity in their life. They're out here riding together, fist bumping, having a good time with each other, you know what I mean? And next thing you know, now we got church groups that are riding with us. People are coming out of the woodwork to come out and ride with us. I just feel like everybody has really seen the movement come together. It was huge to see the kids, but secondary, it really made me feel good to see the adults and the families out there. You know, like I say, every ass should be on a seat. And if there's someone there standing in the group that's not on one of the bikes, I was quick to say, hey, borrow my bike for this ride out, go with us on this ride out. And next thing you knew, they were on their own bike. And then they were bringing their friends and family members and neighbors and cousins. And I've really been able to watch it grow into what it is now. And I feel like if I wasn't there in the beginning of the bike life movement, I wouldn't be able to be so connected with it like I am now. So I want to say it was 2015. Scott Brythop died. And at that time of my life, SE was becoming a big part of it. In my head, I just thought, dang man, I've been doing this movement for 5 years now. I've been on my bike for 5 years now, and I never really took the opportunity to go down and meet Scott. And now he passed away. The least I could possibly do is go down to LA, go to the memorial ride. It's about a 6-hour drive in a normal car. We're driving an old 1966 Volkswagen bus. I told my wife, we're leaving tonight. So we drove all night, we got to Hollywood. We were there in the morning. We pulled up and we're riding around Hollywood because it's just me and her. We're both on our OMs, we're out there riding around doing our thing. And my wife hits me with her elbow and she's like, is that Todd? On that corner, Hollywood Boulevard and Highland, and there was 2 dudes on bikes. And I was like, it's Todd. And I was like, oh, that's that dude, D-Blocks. That's D-Blocks with them. And come to find out, that was D-Blocks' first time to Cali. So it was just like us 4. We rolled up to each other, and it was like, my wife says it was like that symbolic moment when I met Todd. It was like, oh, you could just hear the music. And it went from the immediate handshake to a hug. And so we did the ride, and Todd comes over to me and he's like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? And it's Saturday evening, you know, and I was like, oh, nothing, you know, and I already know, dude, as soon as this ride's over, we're getting in the bus and we're making that 10-hour trip back home, right? So I'm like, oh, nothing, man, what's up? Like all of a sudden I'm not going home, right? So I'm like, no, nothing, we're just hanging out, why, what's up? He's like, well, we're not doing like a ride or nothing, but we're having a few people down in Huntington Beach tomorrow if you want to come ride with us. I was like, oh, I would love to. So we rolled out to Huntington Beach and went and met up with the guys, and we went and rode all day and had a great time. And so that was like my first interaction with SE. That opened up everything. I mean, I was already full-blown SE, doing my thing and riding every day. And Todd hit me up and he's like, hey, we're coming up north to do a ride. Bringing the cycle squad up there. Somebody said you had tons of bikes. I said, yeah, I do, you know. And at the time I had like 16 or 18 bikes. And next thing you knew, I was bringing like 8 or 9 bikes out to the Bay Area for Todd and the SE crew. And that was my interaction. Like I was just there to bring them bikes. I wasn't really there to be part of the movement or part of the ride or nothing. I just was there to bring them bikes and make sure that they had a good time on them and make sure my bikes were up to par so they could be rideable. Next thing you know, like, hey, we're coming back up there, we're doing this, we're doing that, and I'm bringing the bikes. I'm always bringing the bikes for these guys. And next thing you know, Todd's like, hey, I want to give you a bike. And I was like, yeah, that would be great, you know, cool. You know, I never asked for nothing. I just took it as it came, you know what I mean? And they said that we're doing a D-Blocks bike. You had fun with D-Blocks that day, you want a D-Blocks bike? I was like, oh bro, I would love that, you know? He's like, okay, cool, just go over to Robbie's, your local bike shop, and tell them that what bike you want, and tell them, you know, if they have any questions, get a hold of somebody at SE, we're gonna replace it. So I walked into Robbie's, hey, what's going on, you guys, how you doing? You know, I walked right up to this bike and I said, I guess I'll take this one. All right, cool, you know, and I could see him like trying to walk me over to the register and cash me out, and I was like, nah, SE wanted me to tell you guys the payment on this bike is gonna be taken care of through them. And they were like, they all kind of looked at each other and they're like, okay, man, all right, go ahead. And I was just like, I walked out with this big old head thinking I'm King Tut, I got a free bike, SE took care of me, and man, it was so cool. And then Robbie's was like, man, he got a bike from SE, you know, and like that opened up their eyes. And I've just been out here doing it every day since, you know what I mean, and grinding hard and, man, enjoying every minute of it. As of right now, I think I have around 86 SEs in the collection. No, that's not enough, and I feel like I got a couple open spots, so I'm searching as we speak. 2018 was a big year for me. I really noticed that SE was starting to kind of do a certain thing with bikes. For example, the Spring Green, they did 300 Big Rippers, 300 Big Flyers, 300 SoCals, 300 Block Flyers. I immediately went out and bought one of each because I thought to myself, these are gonna be a collector's bike. These are gonna be the ones that people are gonna want in the long run. These are the ones I really want in my collection. And I just really never really stopped. Next thing you know, I was on board. Today I'm wearing the jersey. I got this collection going. I got this fetish. I got this huge thing surrounding my life, and I'm just happy to be part of it. It's so exciting for me when they send me a new bike. Any package from SE shows up at the shop, I'm like, dude, I like to wait for my friends to get here, you know, and then I'll be like, yeah, I'll open that in a minute, you know, and when everybody shows up, I'm like, oh, we're gonna open up the new bike, you guys. So as of today, I'm 49 years old, and I feel like my future is kind of wide open. There's so much more for me to do. Today, I feel 29. I don't feel like I'm 49. I don't act like I'm 49. I see no reason to stop riding. I want to be that 75-year-old guy at the ride out. I want to be that guy on the bike when I'm old. I want to be that guy on my bike doing the wheelie. I want to be that old man going down the street. I want to be somebody for my grandkids to look up to. I want to be the role model of the old dude on the bike. And I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be on one of these things riding a wheelie when I'm 78 years old. You better believe it.